Welcome to All Worn Out. I'm your host, Warren Meredith. On the show today, Janine Charron. She's a motivational speaker, a podcast host, but that's not all. She's working on a book. She's a breast cancer survivor, a former professional hockey player. Let's dive in with Janine Charron. Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Worn Out. It's a podcast about music. It's a podcast about what you're passionate about, and it's a podcast about what our guest is passionate about. Today, I am super thrilled. It's amazing. This guest is so cool. I'm so happy. We have Janine Charron on today, and man, I'm going to introduce you right now. This is going to be fun, okay? So you guys know some of these people have amazing resumes. Janine is one of them. Okay, she's an author. You've written T.I.G.E.R, what's it called? T.I.G.E.R?
The T.I.G.E.R method.
The
Yeah.
T.I.G.E.R
I'm not a
method.
published author on a bookshelf per se, but I've written my own material.
She'll
but I will be
there.
a future published author. I guarantee that.
And I believe her, and I know it's true. And you're also a motivational speaker, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And you're a podcast host.
Yep.
And you're a former professional hockey player.
Correct.
You are a breast cancer survivor.
Correct.
Oh my goodness. A mother.
Correct.
We could just keep going on with you.
Divorce, bankruptcy, been through it all.
See, humility. That's
Yeah,
the other thing
exactly.
you find with successful people in this world, I find. We acknowledge, I'm not that successful, but people acknowledge, their humility and their shortcomings. And that's why we can talk about things. If
Yeah,
we were just going to
exactly.
sit here and just say how awesome we were all the time, I
No.
think people would get bored.
I think
Yeah.
it's better to eliminate the highlight reel. We get that enough on social media.
I kind of want to talk about right off the bat
Yeah.
here, because you were a professional athlete.
Yeah.
You talked about, this really got me lyrically as a musician. You said, haunted by the ghost of yourself.
Mm.
And I immediately started writing a song in my head because, I just thought the imagery was so powerful that
Yeah.
there's this person behind you with like their hand on your shoulder who's like,
Trying to pull you back
yeah,
to who you were. It's because in our brains, I think about, oh gosh, I feel like I just suffered in silence a long time in terms of just internally. You go from being this like badass athlete, and then that period or chapter ends, right? And then there's all these different versions of you, and I talk about the many faces of Janine, but I talk about it's like the ghost of my former self continued to haunt me because I only knew how to be her, but I still was going after this ideal vision that I saw for myself. So within this work of sitting back and reflecting and reassessing, like, who am I? What is it that's true? What is it that I have adapted from what society has told me to be? What have I taken from my parents and my friends' environment that have told me and labeled me as, because I'm showing up as her? What stays, what goes, and how do I bridge that gap? And that's where like the ghost of my former self continued to haunt me, because I would want to be this person, but then I'd still pull out the old bag of tricks that served me that don't serve me now, if that makes sense.
I get it completely.
Yeah.
You're in a very competitive world, I'd imagine. First of all, you did NCAA Division I
Yep.
in the States, and that's a huge accomplishment all by itself.
Yep.
And you graduated, I think, with honors and all this other good stuff. Yeah,
I did a Bachelor of
Dean's
Science.
list,
Yeah.
Bachelor of Science in
business
Business
marketing.
Marketing.
Mhm.
Yeah. You're that's amazing.
Thank you.
And so a lot of people that I know would just be like, that's cool. I'm happy with that. That's sweet.
I don't feel ever satisfied.
I know that. I get you. We're alike this way. And this is, again, a musician and an athlete talking. And I think there's similarities
But we're
in this.
both artists.
There you go.
We are both artists.
And when athletes become artists, the sport generally gets really good. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like Wayne
true.
Gretzky, right? And what he'll always talk about is he'll say like the creativity in the game has gone out because of the practice and how good the coaching is. And like, he's right, but McDavid's fun, and some of those guys are still able to be a little artistic on
Well,
the
I'm
ice.
sure it's like you, when you're performing,
Mhm.
when you're confident and you're feeling really good in your skin. I mean, the music's flowing, things are coming out as it should. You're connecting with the audience, you're connecting with your vocals and your body language on stage, and you're embodying that flow, right? same is true for an athlete. I mean, when you've done the work behind closed doors and you've practiced and you've trained and you're just having fun out there and you're not in your head, you create a masterpiece, whether it be on the ice, whether you're a painter, whether you're a musician. I think it's all the same. We're all creative forces in that sense.
It's true. And I mean, now that games are recorded and everything, it's interesting that we don't think of it as art, because you can go back and watch things again. And maybe one day there'll be museums with like clips playing, or something like that.
I don't know. I mean, it's helpful to see if you're trying to get better at a certain skill set that you keep maybe messing up. But from an artist perspective, sometimes however it comes out, you're probably like, that's the way it was meant to be.
You know what?
Right?
Video review is a big thing.
Yeah.
If
do you do it in music?
Oh, yes. So if you get a band and you get going and you get to if you get to a good place, or if you're a young band out there listening and you want to take things seriously, you want to take your stage show to the next level, the best thing to do is to video your band and watch it together. And it will be painful. It will hurt you. Believe me. You're going to go, I don't look like that. Yeah. That's just this show. Well, that's how you look.
You do that as public speakers. If you ever watch speakers on stage, you'll notice someone who can command a stage versus someone who looks very nervous, who's constantly fidgeting or moving or body language, or they insert certain words.
I'm bad at that still.
No, that's okay. But it's different in the context of what you're presenting at, right? But I would watch myself back as a speaker, and it's amazing to see the changes over time and practice, and confidence in your message is the same as confidence in your music or your artwork, right? Yeah. So it's very relatable.
Yeah, the training is very relatable as well.
Yeah.
And you talk a lot. I don't know if you talk a lot about it, but I have noticed you talk about discipline and finding self-discipline, and that's something a lot of musicians aren't necessarily great at, or we lose it. Going forward, because some of the guitarists I know have the best discipline at some point in their life, because they never would have gotten to be as good as they are without it. But now they got to find it again,
I think that comes with growth, and as a human, like I feel like my younger years, I was very disciplined because I was trying to achieve, and you're going. And then you have some success and you kind of think like you can take your foot off the pedal a bit, but the best of the best realize, even like I interview NHL and NFL and Olympians on my podcast about life after sports, and the best of the best still have to put in the work, and that discipline never goes away. The foundation, when you think about a tree, the roots, all that work underneath the ground of keeping that tree sturdy. It's like as humans, it's mastering the mundane. All this stuff that we wish we didn't have to do every day sometimes is really your foundation. And it's the same for an artist. You know what you need to do. Like, what would your routine be to be at your best?
Yeah, you have to do warm up. You have to be warming up every morning, and you have to eat right. You have to treat your body right. People might not know this, but if you're a vocalist, there's a lot of food you're not supposed to eat.
Oh, like dairy? Is that like dairy or
a lot of stuff? Like a lot. Coffee, bananas.
You can't eat you can't drink coffee?
Oh, yeah. Well, you're not supposed to. So like when I go and record in the studio, or if I have a big show, I pretty much just don't eat. Like I not till I'm done.
So I don't, when I spoke at TEDx, I don't eat until I'm off. I feel like I channel my message better too when there's no food in me, but but also I'm a breast cancer survivor, so I'm also in menopause. I don't want to sweat all the whole time. So I find food or anything makes me just drenched in my outfit on stage too. So I'm like, okay, I can't eat. I don't do that.
I don't want to burp on stage, and while I'm singing in a big note, it's no fun. And also just the gas pressure. If I'm trying to hit a big note, trying to deal with that, it's no good. So,
we don't want that.
I have all these rules, like I never drink more than one beer, and that's just so that I
can't drink and perform either. Like, I hear people that do it.
It's a social thing, and I just do it because I want people to see me with it so they know they can have a drink when they're at the show. And I also want my bar that I'm performing at to do well that night.
Got it.
So I absolutely put that picture in people's minds, but people know me. They know I don't drink very much.
Yeah.
And I mean, anyone who's good on stage, I think, shouldn't, or good on any, it's like drug use or anything. And you get to that high level, and maybe, like you said, you take that step back where you think, oh, I can handle it, I can do it, or I'm going to make it more entertaining. It's not worth it.
Yeah,
really not
for
worth
sure.
it.
It just messes with your headspace, right? And that's where mental training comes in.
Well, okay, let me ask you about this quote from your mom. And she said, don't be afraid to take risks. How old were you when she said that to you?
I was a teenager. I can still see it clear as day. Like, again, I was on the left side. She was on the right. I can see us like pulling. We were putting the base sheet on the bed. And I'll never forget when she said it to me. And I always think about like growing up, we're given a million pieces of advice, right? And we really don't know what's going to stick. And that's for anyone that says anything. That's all of us. Your words carry weight and they're impressionable. And for whatever reason, that sentence that day stuck with me. And it was like, I mean, I was always energetic, but that like just turned the crank up for me. And it was like, I take risks. And sure enough, you know, I used to live in the States. I traveled, I traveled for hockey, I was previously married in the States. And then I went through divorce, which was not something that your family ever wants you to go through, or, you know, that can ruffle feathers, but I had to be true to myself at that time. And then you go through other risks. When I opened my own fitness studio, my parents were like, why wouldn't you go work for the government? And I'm like, because I'm never going to do that, right? I can't sit in a chair.
Musicians understand you.
Right? Athletes have a hard time sitting in a desk too. Yeah. That's why I'm in sales too. I work for Tomlinson now and during the day. And I mean, marketing and sales is definitely my avenue when it comes to any type of work there. But creating and being in your craft and taking a risk was a big thing for me. And I've never been one to you can't put me in a box.
I'm very bad at taking risks unless very calculated.
Oh, you're risk aversive.
Oh, I would say so. And I think I've always gone with my strong suits in life, like whatever I knew my trump cards were. I'd lead with that stuff. You know what I mean? And so when I was going through all my research for you, I was getting inspired personally because I do deal with severe anxiety. I do deal with severe depression and all these different fun little things, you know, and this stuff is helpful and it is very motivational and it showing up. This is something, again, you keep driving through your message here is just keep showing up.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I needed to hear that. When I was a kid and I was dealing with this anxiety, I didn't know what it was. I'd miss 15 days a semester of school. I didn't know why my chest was like this. I didn't know why I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't understand it all, because then on my good days I'd come out and I'd be super cool Warren. I'd be fun and dramatic and exciting. And so there was all that journey for me with mental health, and it's an ongoing journey. It never ends, in my opinion, and self-discovery and all that kind of stuff. So I'm at a good place, but I think I'm at a good place because I found you at the right time here. And I'm hoping everyone watching right now is feeling the same way, because there's so much to take from your
Do you journal
here.
Or meditate, or did you talk to someone? Like, how did you get past that anxiety?
Oh, I'm not past it. And I was raised kind of in it in a way. So it's I feel,
Are you open to speaking about it, or do you keep it off this show?
I mean, I'll speak about it. I'll open up about anything. I've talked about,
like, do you know kind of what triggered the anxiety to begin with?
Yeah, probably family stuff.
Yeah.
And also just like I said, I grew up in an environment where somebody had obsessive compulsive disorder. So I watched somebody struggle with this daily, and like real obsessive compulsive disorder. I'm not meaning like, oh, they're a little, no. I'm the real deal people.
Yeah.
And then I witnessed anxiety and agoraphobia and all these different things as a kid. And I was always trying to conquer it myself. And
because you saw it that you must have it too?
And I did have it. My sister doesn't, at least not the same way. She doesn't express it the same way. But I am a lot like my parents, like a lot. I'm the firstborn, and I soaked up everything from them.
Yeah.
The good.
I'm the baby. We forget about the third.
I soaked up the good and the bad. You know what I mean? I took it all, and I love them dearly. And so I'm not criticizing them. They did the very best by me always.
Yeah.
So like, I love my parents. That's not my message here. My message is just that I came to realize that a lot of what we become is our surroundings and what we soak up, what we take in, and that's eventually what we're going to put out.
Yeah. And it's until something kind of jolts you to reevaluate or reassess. Like, again, if I didn't have breast cancer, I don't know that I would have had the awareness that I acquired. I was always very in tune and very intuitive and self-aware. But when I hit breast cancer and I couldn't muscle my way through, I mean, I went from hockey to marathon to half marathons to triathlons to I'd see someone do a figure show. Well, I can do that. I lost 30 pounds, won first place. And then it was like, oh, what's next? I was very like, how I how I validated myself was through external validation as an athlete. And when I hit breast cancer, it was like I had 6 surgeries. It was me and my couch and my journal. And that's when I really dove into meditation and writing. And the writing was one of my favorite things, because that's when I created my TED Talk and my speaking. And it's like, I was afraid that like that voice was going to die with me. And it was like screaming inside to get out. And breast cancer, like if you don't recognize and take some time to stop, life, I think, will make you stop. And for me, it was the perfect storm between divorce and bankruptcy and a decade of stress. My body was probably the perfect candidate to like breed some sort of sickness or illness. And unfortunately, mine was cancer, because I found out I'm BRCA2 positive, meaning I'm susceptible to cancer. So I was 38 when I was diagnosed. I'm 42 now, going to be 43 in December.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are an incredible warrior. There is no denying that. You know, the way you speak about breast cancer, or the way it's written about, it feels like it's so far away.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, 4 years is not far away.
No.
And everybody knows that. And yet you've battled it and you've conquered it, and you put that distance between you and that battle, and you continue.
Well, it was a
right?
2.5 year, 6 surgeries over 2.5 years. So it was gone on. But there was a gift of cancer. And this is where I believe in mental training and mindset. I remember when I was diagnosed and I was walking to the mailbox, and I remember looking up and I said, "Thank you, Grandpa." And my nickname is T.I.G.E.R, and he called me Tiger. But I knew this was like the final thing that I knew that was like kind of pushing me off the ledge to be like, okay, you're ready. Go do what you really want to do. And I've been speaking since 2010 on and off, but it was kind of like the last straw where I was like, well, I'm not going to leave this world without getting my message out there. I would come home from a surgery. I found this woman online, Trisha Brook, who's the founder of the Big Talk Academy. I got certified while I was in bed healing, doing a speaking course with people from all over the world, 32 people from all over the world. And they picked me to open their showcase. And here I was, this like unpaid speaker at the time, unpaid, not an author, with a whole class full of authors. And it was my pure passion and that connection to source. I do believe, because I got quiet with myself and I shut out the noise, and I was able to reconnect with who I really truly am. And when I heard about your band, kind of whatever's going on there, I was like, holy shit, he's gone through like his own life after music, or what's next for him.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Like, does that resonate with you?
Absolutely, it does. Going through changes and metamorphoses, trying to gather what the next face will be, because we present these faces. And you spoke about what I found interesting is about the external validation. And so, the hippie theater student in me is like, yeah, man, that's so athletic, man. Like, the outside world doesn't mean anything. But it does. And our ego does matter. And we do have to treat it with so much regard in a certain way. We need to know that it's got to be kept in check, but we also have to feed it so it knows that we're doing enough to please our life's ambitions.
Well, think about if you're practicing for a song and you constantly do this mistake, or if someone in your band says something and it constantly triggers you. It's no different than like when my husband would walk in the room and I'd just be like, and he did nothing, and he's like, what's wrong? And he would trigger me. I had to figure out why I was being triggered and connect the association to whatever was going on in my environment. That takes time to step back and reflect. And people don't want to do that. A lot of people do, but there's a lot of people more so I think that don't, because it's easier just to, oh no, I'm fine. And I got to a place of like, I can't do anymore. I had to sit with myself and just figure me out.
Yeah, there's a real artist that was born in you, because you speak about source. Did you know about source or recognize the source before you went through this journey? Yeah.
I do believe, well, without freaking everyone out, but I do believe like from a young age, I was always connected. I have rose colored like lens. I've always positive and energetic. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I went through hard times and I made a lot of bad decisions, and I've cried and I've been in negative headspaces, but I was able to put that front on a lot on externally. So I kind of trained my brain to always be that girl too, right? So it was just interesting, but more and more so I connected to that deeper part of me that inner healing and knowing by sitting with myself, crying, meditating, talking to myself. Like I'd be writing in my journal, and brutal honesty, a lot of people, you hear this stuff where you're like, okay, that's great, but how do you do it? I'd be talking to like, okay, first I'm going to talk to party Janine. Why do you like to go out all the time? Why can't you just say no, right? Or why do you, and then it was like controlling Janine. Why do you feel that you need to control your surroundings? Then it was like jealous Janine. I'd talk to her, and then I'd meditate and talk to these different versions of me. And then I could pick and choose what stayed and go, what I realized was real, or what was a figment or a story that I made up of myself, or that someone told me I was. And it's like, oh, actually, that's not me. Or it's really interesting.
Very similar to a course I took in college called T.I.G.E.R. And I've spoken about it a couple times.
T.I.G.E.R.
Yeah, I've spoken about it.
Cool.
It was developed in the farm, which is like a hippie movement with acid in the 60s, where they were trying to figure out how to do this stuff without acid. So they're developing all these programs of thinking and developing your character. And you just described a lot of what it is. And source is a section within the river where you go and you figure out the life and the death of your character, and what are they going to go through.
I'm covered in chills as you're saying
What are they
this.
going to go through in these moments? And we jump into the river after we do Tai Chi movements. So we go through the meditation, we do the Tai Chi, then we dive into the river. And when you're you're not allowed to acknowledge each other. We're just doing our own thing. Then you can go and
Did you actually get in a river, or is this theoretically?
This is all theoretical.
Okay.
So the theoreticals, the river's in a room.
I'm like, that's a cool class. I want to go.
Well, it was cool. It was trippy. So you jump in, and let's say I'm doing my character, and you look over and you're like, that is weird. I need to ask Warren, what is going on? So then we would go, you get my attention, we go to the mirrors. And in the mirrors, we could look at each other in the mirror and talk.
Okay.
But that's it. We're not allowed to talk like that. And so there's all these stations and rules. And so I never imagined before that it would be so helpful, maybe to athletes or other people as well. But it is.
All of us.
What you've definitely taught me today is it's very connected.
And it's literally, I mean, if you think about it, not one of us is exactly alike. We all come from different upbringings. Our parents, or whoever your caregiver, if you were lucky enough to have someone that stayed around, they come from different upbringing, or whoever your caregiver was. And now I started to understand, I never really got generational trauma until I kind of now seeing this, you can see how things get passed down if you don't take the time to heal yourself, because their baggage becomes your baggage and you pass it on to your kids. And then and I was starting to see too, if I said something or if I was irritable, when I'm irritable with the kids, I know I haven't made time for myself. I know I haven't meditated. I know I haven't read. I know I haven't written in my journal. I know I haven't worked out, or I've eaten shitty and I'm not taking care of myself. And the ripple effect is huge, positive or negative. And that's why I always say life's currency is showing up, because it's not time or money. And when we invest and we fill our cup and we do what we need to, you need to create. Maybe you need to sing. I like to speak. I like to do athletic things. Someone needs to paint. Woodworking, dancing, whatever your form of creation is, which we are divine creative beings, right?
Very true.
Right? So, and then when you feel that, you're able to sit with your friend who needs maybe to steal some of your overflow, right? And you can be there we're meant to live together. We're meant to live in a community.
It's true.
But we've isolated with technology, the amazing things that tech bring us, but you see everyone looking at their phone. And so when I do believe that your vibration increases, you're doing the things that feed your soul. And then the ripple effect is huge, positive or negative. You don't do it, you close up and you introvert. You do it, you can feed your community, right? You can feed your neighbor. It's a very beautiful thing because we all are connected.
Community. And of course, the Ottawa music community likes to hear that. And that, it is about sharing that overflow. And I was told by the same teacher, it's interesting. Flo told me a similar thing. She said, never spend all of your energy. Never spend everything. Don't come off the field of battle and say, I gave it 110%. Come off the field and say, I gave 90% or I gave 95%, because you need to save a small piece for yourself to recover. And
you know what? That is, really great advice. I've never heard that before. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm used to emptying the tank and then I'm hungover. It feels like for 3 weeks.
Me too.
It just feels when I went after my TEDx stage, the recovery from that one speaking event, that was so, I spent months and weeks practicing and training, and you can watch it and it looks like it's very just like me getting up there and speaking, but it was every word was thought out and crafted and practiced, and body language and delivery. It does, when you when you can become your message because you know it so well inside out. That's how the best speakers appear on stage. But I probably for like 3 weeks felt like I was hit by a truck after that.
Yeah. Oh, I understand. Yeah. Being emotionally drained after a performance is a thing. And also being like emotionally like going, like ready to go. Like I generally won't sleep after a show. And that's just because there's way too much going on. I have to process it all and then let it all go. And then I'll go to sleep. And then, that's all part of a process because yeah, you're just so wound.
What was your favorite thing about being a performer? Are you still performing or are you figuring this out?
Oh, I'm going to perform. Oh, yeah. But we're not going to perform till October or November. I've got to get back in the process. And I'm doing this podcast to like fill my time in between.
The creative spirit.
Being inspired by people. Use a little bit of my education. Just trying to have fun with it. But yeah, I still love to perform and always will. I don't think that's ever going to go anywhere. And when I had my first set of real panic attacks that I couldn't deny, I was working in television and I was a grip. So I was doing lighting and I was a best boy. So, I was a pretty good grip and I had people under me and they were all 6 foot whatever. And I'm clearly not. So I wasn't bad.
What are you talking about? You're sitting on a smaller chair.
Yeah. So like, I'm not bad. I wasn't bad at my job. That wasn't it. It was, I felt like I was lying to myself. I felt like I had done a great disservice to myself. I fell in love young. I went and did this college program in Ottawa for TV because I thought that was the smart thing to do instead of going to college for theater, which I later did. I later tried to correct that.
Isn't it funny how we do that?
Oh, yeah. And I just was working on this show standing there going, the voice is just like, you've lied to yourself. You've lied to yourself.
Ooh, tell me about The Voice. I love The Voice.
Oh, yeah.
What messages were you downloading?
Bad. It was a lot of anxiety. That's what it was. And it was just telling, but that's, okay. So again, the anxiety is interesting with Warren because I was a chess champ for SD&G multiple times. And that's a South Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry. Cornwall, basically. And then all in the region. And then I go to Toronto and compete, and I do very well. And I thought I was a good chess player. But when I reached about 14 or 15, I started encountering mathematicians that I was playing chess with now. And I realized...
And they were calculated.
Yes. And I realized my anxiety was now defeated. It had taken years for anyone to defeat my anxiety. Years. Because I was so afraid of making a mistake. And I would calculate those mistakes in advance. And so that was helping my mathematical ability. But I wasn't naturally gifted at math. I was just scared poopless that I was going to make an error. And God, I remember walking into the room and I loved it. The feeling of the room, of all the tables and the pieces on the clanking on the table. The same as walking into a hockey arena and the smell hits you of BO. And all of a sudden you go, yeah, it's game time.
The smell of hockey.
Right? Yeah, and you smell, it's just everything.
The smell of BO.
You get the chips, the Miss Vickies, everything, the environment that would bring me to hockey. And I told people my favorite thing about hockey was the warm-up. Besides making a big save and coming through for my team, my favorite thing was going out for warm-ups and acting like I was the coolest goalie in the world.
And where'd you play?
North Dundas. So Winchester, home of the Winchester Hawk.
Okay.
And it's a small town, an hour outside of the city, and hockey is life there. So Kerry Karkner and all those lads, and they take it very, very seriously. I was from Chesterville, and the boys from Winchester, they like to make sure that I knew I wasn't from Winchester. And I ended up going to hockey camp. And it was phenomenally a brilliant decision by my parents, by my uncle, to send me to multiple hockey camps because I was that little wiener weaselly kid who couldn't grow, who couldn't put weight on, and still can't. But, you know, in that time, I would go to these hockey camps like Barry Madigan or Jacques Martin's or like Jacques Martin's so good. I've told the story before about me crying and missing my parents and being at the phone, trying to get a hold of them. And having a panic attack as a kid, not knowing what it was.
How old were you?
10, 11. And out comes this instructor, and he brought me right to Jacques. He's like, you got to go see the coach. Must be 8:30, 9 o'clock. He's like, you got to go see coach. He's going to know exactly what to do. So we went right in, and Jacques just talked to me for half an hour. We just shot the shit, and then he called, and then my parents called me. you know? And so he knew exactly what he was doing, and he was really cool. And hockey camp was big. I'd come back a couple pounds heavier. I go into camp, and I remember challenging the players for the first time. I remember after goalie camp, the players coming in on me and me coming out and saying, let's go, you know, and telling them to do it. And that got me onto the A team. I remember a coach saying, your confidence boost change and your game change, the focus in the details. And I've always taken that with me, that you can focus in on things in a camp-like scenario and improve. How in the world did you win a fitness, what is this, a bodybuilding championship you won?
Figure, yeah. Yep. And depending on the age group of who's listening to this, Monica Brandt came into, I was working at Lululemon in Texas. I used to live in Austin, Texas. And she comes in and I'm like at cash and I'm like talking to my coworkers. I'm like, do you know who that is? And they're like, no. And I pull her up on Google and they just scroll. Google Monica Brandt. Everyone, MONICA BRANT. You'll see like hundreds of magazine covers. Anyway, she's a fitness icon. I mean, she's been in the industry forever. When I met my now husband, he's like, you're friends with Monica Brandt? I have her on my wall. So, but yeah, so when I see someone that has done something that I want to do, and I've always say, if you can see her, you can be her. And I was like, I signed up. Lost 30 pounds in 8 weeks and won first place and never did it again.
I've got one friend I went to high school with who does fitness stuff, and I'm blown away by it. I'm actually blown away by all.
You got to do it though and not make people feel like you're doing it around you. I find like you get those competitors that everybody knows you're carrying like fish and chicken in your cooler and they make a big scene and oh my God, I got to work out and oh my God, I can't eat this and da-da. Like what, if you do it and be in it and no, you don't need to impose it on anyone else. But it's funny those that like are really good at it and it's like their life and you can tell it comes naturally and easy for them. I'm not saying don't go after a goal or dream, but it was kind of like a light switch turned off all my things, light switch on, and then light switch just goes right off. And then I'm back to the old J9. It's really funny. I have this ability to do that.
How many years ago was it that you won?
That was NPC in Texas in 2009. So like 15 years ago.
Yeah, right. When I'm starting music.
My kids are like, Mom, you have an 8-pack. I'm like, not anymore.
That's when I was cleaning up. 2009 is when I started to clean up my life and start deciding that I wanted to do music.
Okay.
And when I was not in the best state of mind, I decided I was going to become the Ginger Fox. It's up on the wall now. And I did it, and it was fun. It was interesting.
What's the Ginger Fox?
It was my band.
Oh,
and that was my first little creation, you know? And it was me deciding that I was going to create an alter ego, and I was going to create a character to live through. And for me at the time, I needed it. I wasn't ready to face certain things.
Do you know that people do that? Like Beyonce on stage is Sash Shafir. So my nickname's T.I.G.E.R. I can call upon my Tiger persona and can really embrace her. And it's just amazing how we can do that. So you've got your...
It helped me manifest things. And it definitely did. And helped me grow. Yeah. I wasn't ready to be the singer that I am now.
You're great too. I listened to some of your stuff, I think I listened to, was it Crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was another one, some really great tunes. I mean, yeah, I'm impressed.
It's like classic Southern rock and, you know, it's fun. It's a lot of fun and it's freeing too. And a lot of my music is about, or my lyrics, I think, are about finding freedom.
So let's see, what do you love most about what you've created to date? What are you most proud of? And I know it doesn't make anything else less, but what are you really most proud of if you could only pick one thing that you've created?
Well, we'll go with the first album because that's cheating because I get 8 songs out of it. But I mean, I think the first album was special and very
because it was your first.
Yeah, very eye-opening. I mean, I'd recorded EPs before. I'd recorded before in different scenarios, but I'd never gone into $1 million studio with a producer. And a producer is very much like a coach. It's very much a producer, although they don't have coaching skills necessarily. Yeah. That's the thing about producers. They're very brutally hard.
Just do this. Don't sound that. Switch this. That. No, I don't know.
Like, yeah. Well, for one example, many years ago, the guy who produced the Bee Gees heard one of my tapes somebody paid money for him to listen. And he said, well, someone needs to tell that vocalist to pull harder on his pee-pee to hit those high notes.
Oh no.
So the arts can be very, very cruel.
But also it's all that, the eye of the eye of the beholder. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have told me no about my dream, but it's not their dream. It's our dream, and it's in us for a reason, right? Even people close to me that I would expect to be supportive had told me no and what I should do. And I'm so glad I didn't listen to them, because when you honor that internal nudge, there's a reason why you're getting it. And there's a reason why that's your gift. And when you really latch onto it and you listen to it and you follow through on it and you're true, like 100% true, it's not like being a fake person behind closed doors and then different in the public eye. It's really being honoring that part of you that is wanting to come out. Magic happens. I talk about that in my TED Talk about how life happens. Life shows up for you because you show up for it. People show up for you, right? Because you show up for them.
Your positivity is powerful. I would love.
Thank you.
I would have loved to seen you in theater school deal with some of these these wizards, and I would have loved to see you with some producers, and like I'd want you in my band because it's a great. That's a great attitude because.
Well, it's been cultivated. I am going to be 43, right? I've had some life experience.
Still.
Okay, so that was what you were most proud of.
Sure.
What is something that you would love to achieve that you have yet to, but you aspire to, but you're afraid to maybe vocalize?
Well, my band had 10 dates booked in the United Kingdom in September, and the funding fell through. And that was very difficult for for us to deal with, and for me to deal with, because we worked about 6 months on preparing that and getting that ready to go. So I don't feel like I've accomplished my goals until I've crossed the ocean. And that's several reasons. And one is because Elvis never got to. So if I get to, then I've surpassed Elvis in one way. And that's one way is enough. One way is enough.
I like it.
And
so you're going to?
Oh yeah, and
you're going to. It's just a matter of when.
I have to work from the bottom back up. I have to build back up, but I'm going to do it, like you said.
But that's what's pretty cool about the rebuilding phases, because you get to choose what stays and goes.
Yeah. Oh, right? I agree. Yes.
And you've got deeper roots. You become more confident, and maybe it fell through because something would have happened that you wouldn't be ready for, or who knows? I do believe in divine timing. If I can share from my life experience. Things that I wanted to happen that took way longer to happen. When it did happen, I was like, okay, now I know why. I had to learn all that. And I really can maturely look back and be like, man, if I got that gift at this time, I was not ready to receive it. I would have lost it as soon as I got it.
And the other thing about being a musician is you're always thinking about your outgame. You are thinking about what is enough, what will satisfy me. And the answer for me is probably nothing. For me personally,
or you can always continue to create. Yeah, it's just at what level of creation, right? You're always going to be creative.
Yeah, I don't think it will stop, but you're trying to think about what will I be.
Well, what else do you like to do outside of music?
Competitively, nothing. I mean, I've lost that thrill for competition. I did it so much. I don't know. You can speak to this better than me, but I'm doing. Enough.
Do you think it's just lying dormant, or you've actually that's run its course? You're not into like the high competition.
An artist, I'm constantly smacking my ego. I'm constantly telling it that's enough. And because we're never happy, we're in this competition that's not really a competition. So we're competing against ourselves.
But there's a lot of noise in the industry too,
and
right?
we're in this community where we're supposed to be supporting each other. We're supposed to be friends. It's like a league. It's like a team league. Okay,
but you're still trying to win on Friday and Saturday night.
Beat each other, right? And you need to get that gig.
But you know what? If you just focus on yourself, and anyone focuses on their craft, there's only one you. So.
This is, again, I have to keep doing this. That same thing. I have to keep coming back to it.
It's true. And it's hard to believe that until you've healed. Sometimes we have past trauma that we need to heal. That's kind of sucking us into this vortex of our old selves. And that's why I say keep showing up, because it's like, here's where I am today and here's where I want to be. So how do we bridge that gap? It's like, I keep doing the things that I know I need to do, and I trust that some door is going to open if I'm just true to myself and I say no where I know I need to say no, but in the past I would say yes, right? Is creating boundaries and recognizing triggers and all the things. And eventually there's going to be a door that opens.
On a hockey team, does it ever happen where people are being dragged along? Is there passengers for amounts of time, for seasons. Like,
Well,
where
people
it's-
sometimes have natural talent, right? But they don't have the same heart and passion as
Okay.
someone else. There's difference. A great coach can recognize who's in the wrong seat on the bus.
Okay.
And if you have a great coach that can recognize, okay, this person's actually a cancer to like the major unit, they can remove them or cut them or whatnot.
Right.
Some people, it depends politics, right? You got parents and people and different people that are
How?
maybe funding things that so someone stays because there's funding. I don't know.
How did your parents navigate hockey politics? And is it as brutal in girls hockey? Or
Honestly, my younger years where I was just full of piss and vinegar, and we'd lose the game and I'd be like, ah! It didn't really bug me. I was competitive and I worked my ass off, and I was one of the assistant captains, and but I was just like, I just love life. It didn't really hit me till after university when I was like, what am I supposed to do now? And going to the gym was like, ew, is this what I have to do to stay in shape? Like I like showing up and just, you train for a couple hours, and I'm always very driven when I have a goal or if I have someone waiting for me on the other end. And my big thing is showing up for myself without someone on the other end right now that I'm working on myself personally. Because as soon as I have a client that I'm coaching or an athlete that needs me, I'll be up at 4 a.m. and I'll be like in their driver ready to go because I like to share that part of me. But sometimes if I have to show up for myself, I can hit snooze. Right?
Yeah.
It's easier when you've got that accountability, right?
That's right.
So I'm trying to be accountable to my future self right now. Like with this decision today, what she is going to make this girl proud, and it's going to bring my future into focus a lot quicker.
What's going to make me proud? I think that's a good one to think about. It would have been great for me in the mornings many years ago.
Isn't it always?
Oh my gosh. I was too good at bounce back. I was too good at disappearing and reappearing, and people be like, where were you? Nah, don't worry about it.
I kind of like the reinvention act. It's fun to reinvent yourself, but you need to learn the lessons of the past. Or
right?
I just read this saying yesterday. It was like a 50-year-old man who still sees the world as a 20-year-old has lost 30 years of his life. And I was like, oh, wow, that's applicable to anyone.
That is.
So I try to read a lot. If anyone's listening and you want to better yourself, like whatever you're interested in, read, get to know yourself, self-awareness, journal, meditate, talk to a friend, do whatever the thing is. We don't have to grow in the same way, shape, or form, but challenge yourself to take a bird's eye view of your life and how you're living and choose the goal that is so important to you. And that's, if your decisions aren't in alignment with that person and that vision and the character that you want to create for yourself and take the time to write that vision of your ideal self, you can answer the questions in today's day. Does this bring me closer to or further from that vision? And if that's an easy yes or no, I've always been told if it's not a resounding yes, it's always a no.
Okay, that's really interesting because bands will often come to these decisions, and there's 5 of us or 4 of us. And so the decision will be, do we spend this money on this promotion package? Or do we take this show at said price? Or do we do this, right? And I think the way you just worded that, does it benefit us or not? Like the way you worded that was good. How'd you say that again?
I think it's for anyone. Like, what's the vision of your band? Where are you steering your ship? So if you want to go across overseas, but you're doing all these other things that take you away from there, it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe that's a no. But if you're spending money at an avenue that maybe you wouldn't normally pay, but the audience members are going to be someone that can put you in that position to get there, that's a yes to me, right? You're like, I try to insert myself too in communities and people that I normally wouldn't be around. Like, what's the likelihood that we'd be doing this here today, right?
Sean Sisk.
Sean Sisk.
Yeah, shout out to Sean Sisk. All my love to you, brother.
I'm a yes girl. I say yes because it's like you never know who you're going to meet that's going to open another door for you, right? And then you get to decide if it stays or goes. And sometimes you might think you want something and you say yes and you realize, you know what? I didn't want this, but by saying yes to this, I figured out this about and I can go that way, right? So there's no wrong decision. It's just learning and feedback.
I have a friend who did Div 1 hockey, or no, I think he only did Div 2 or something like that. But it was, he, at the end, he struggled with knowing what to do. Mm-hmm. Growing up, I'd be at hockey camps with him. And just like to put in perspective, there'd be a lot of kids on the ice. And he would be soloed out every time. The only problem was...
in what sense?
Hockey speed, hockey sense.
Better or worse?
Amazing.
Okay.
Really good. Yeah. Really good. Just undersized. Just an undersized center.
Okay, gotcha.
But fantastic hockey sense and ability. So everyone at that time, it was before the growth spurts had come through. So people were still banking big on this guy and investing a lot of time in him. And, you know, I remember the favoritism, or not favoritism, pressure put on him, because they'd say, come to the front of the line, you do the drill first. And he'd demonstrate the drill first every time for everybody else, right? And you do the drill with such and such. You do it with Brad Marsh. You do it with this. And, you know, and afterwards, drinking became a major thing for him. And now
happens to a lot of athletes.
Now he's coming out of that, working very hard to come out of that. And of course, I'm so proud of him for that. But I mean, I was going to ask, is that a common thing?
You're bred, you party hard and you play hard. So like we'd go dry, and then you win something, and then you'd have a night or two off and everyone goes buck wild. And then it's like back to the 100% in. And I think it's very situational, and every person is different. There's people that drink, there's people that don't drink, there's people that do drugs, there's people that don't do drugs. And I think the personalities, like different personalities can be pulled in those direction. I definitely I love the party life and like music and people, and I'm just a very social butterfly. But I do know from talking to some of my friends who I played with on the men's and women's team, and they're struggling, but they haven't told anyone or come out yet. It's because I've reached out about hey, do you want to be a guest? And when they're ready to share with the world. But I think as a community, whether you play a sport, whether you do anything for any amount of time, or if you're in a relationship for a long time and someone leaves you, or you're identified by whatever it is that you're doing. And if you don't cultivate and nurture the many parts that make you a human, you will feel that loss. And some can either turn it into fitness and something positive. Others can sometimes feed it in a negative way. Not right or wrong. You're just where you got steered in that direction, and hopefully you can better yourself and get out. And the reason why I started my podcast was two friends who were found dead in their homes that couldn't get past the lifestyle. Like there was always autographs and big and seen. And then all of a sudden they're not playing hockey anymore. Who am I? And they're left, they're out in the pasture, right, to die. And you're not selling tickets. People don't care about you. You're not getting free dinners anymore. You're not getting, right? You just become, and I'm sure that's why you see celebrities go down this route, or I'm sure it happens to musicians. Whether you're a big time artist or not, it can affect all of us. And that's why we need to be empathetic and caring, because it can happen to any one of us. Any one of us.
It's very reminiscent.
And it could be triggered by it doesn't have to be triggered, but I don't think it has to be triggered necessarily by your sport or your craft. You could lose a parent who was your guiding light, and now you're just completely lost. And you've lost hockey and this guiding light. So now who am I, right? You don't, if you kind of don't have that cloak of around you of something that could cause you to do that. I don't know. It's very situational, but you do see it with athletes, and I do think it's bred a little bit. But I mean, I was going to be a wild child, but they're not.
Well, it's really fascinating to hear about you in your younger years, because I did listen to another podcast you were on, and you were describing being younger, playing hockey, and just you were saying you were just good at it. Well, not you said the first two times you didn't really like it or whatever. My
dad put me in a camp. I was a ringette player. I was never supposed to play hockey necessarily. I was a ringette, and he put me in a camp with a bunch of younger boys. I was in my teens, and he put me in with 8 or 9 year old boys. It was definitely a bigger age gap because I sat in with the trainers. And then apparently I went home that day and was I never want to play ringette again, and started talking to different universities, and yeah, that was the end of ringette.
So it happened pretty fast.
It did. I had to learn how to stick handle, but I was such a fast skater, and I had such a presence that I could it was like my cloak. So I could cough up the puck and create turnovers and really forecheck. And I created that spot for me.
2 girls that we played with in North Dundas, and both of them were incredible, because Chelsea was the big strong girl who played big hockey with the big boys. And there was this another girl who was power skater, and she would do all the power skating drills to demonstrate how it was done. And I saw you doing the podcast with Manon Rhéaume.
Yeah.
And it made me flash back to grade 2, and I'm reading a hockey book, and it's all about Manon Rhéaume being the first female goalie. And it's this powerful memory.
Wow.
And me going back, talking to my parents about it, and saying there's going to be girls in the NHL. There's going to be girls. Look, they're going to be in the NHL. and dad or whoever being like, well, it's going to take some time, but
Yeah.
yes.
I look at where we are today.
What do you think about these coaches? Is this a great step forward?
Yeah. I mean, I think it is. There's so much controversy and debate out there about men and women in sports. And I don't get into that. I think from a female being able to step on the ice in 1992 with men in a predominantly male dominated, I mean, that just didn't happen back then. Right. And she took a lot of flack and nose for that. But what an amazing accomplishment, and what a testament to her being true to herself. And she just kept showing up. Like, she begged her dad. She had an older brother and I believe a younger brother, if I remember correctly. And they had this league or this ice. Anyways, the brothers got to play, but she didn't. She had to beg her dad to let her play goalie when they needed a goalie in a tournament. And that's how kind of things just started happening. And she just kept showing up. She kept training. She kept working on her craft. And that's what I mean about like life's currency is you do the thing, you put the blinders on and you go to work. Life is going to give you an opportunity. A lot of people just quit before they get that opening, right?
Yeah, you got to be patient and aware at the same time.
And have faith that what's meant for you is meant for you.
Now, it made me think about big game hunting, which of course I've never done either. But I've watched that Naked and Afraid show, and I know that it's a big deal when they do big game hunting. Oh, yeah. Oh, I just like it. They are crazy competitors. They're some of the wildest competitors you'll ever see because they get naked and they eat rancid food and they starve themselves like 50 or 60 pounds down to say that they're a champion. Like it's wild, right? And so I get into it, and it makes me see the ridiculousness of the competitiveness inside of me because I kind of have to see it sometimes.
That's giving me a hot flash.
Yeah, it's a fun show, you know? Okay, so you backpacked around Europe, and are you going to go back to Europe again?
No. I mean, if I do, it'll be with my family. I'm literally having a hot flash. Sorry, guys. From my breast cancer journey, I'm in full-blown menopause. So they come on out of nowhere. You said Naked and Afraid, and man,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you.
I'm kidding.
I'm so sorry.
For those of you watching, I made sure I brought my fan, so it's like right here.
Oh.
No, this is real life. Yeah, backpacked around Europe. I mean, that was just, again, the girls wanted to go, so I'm a yes girl. I was like, count me in.
My dad has just completed his rounds of cancer treatment, and
I'm sorry. What kind of cancer?
Bladder cancer.
Okay.
So what just a eye-opening scenario, because I've always asked myself, what happens? What do you do when you find out you have cancer? Like, what would I do? Would I lose my mind?
Honestly, I think I felt like the athlete in me was like game on. I'd already gone through divorce and breast cancer and was kind of like, okay, what else do I need to handle? And it didn't really hit me till things kind of got quiet. I was just so like bang, 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 bang. And it was all my friends too were like, why aren't you like bawling your eyes out or freaking out? And I'm like, well, it's not going to take my cancer away. And I do believe that's just a testament to the mental training that I've done over the years. And yeah, unfortunately, they were worried I was going to have ovarian cancer. I'm so hot right now. Just 1 sec.
That's okay.
They
keep it on.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But so I had to remove my ovaries, my fallopian tubes, and my uterus. So I'm like full blown cancer. What a lot of people don't understand is some women will go through menopause and they don't hit it as bad as this. I've been forced into the fire, like head to toe. I'm on fire right now. It just comes out of nowhere. So that's why I had to bring my fan.
Yeah, stuff like hormonal stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Whether you're hitting puberty or you're leaving it or whatever it might be, it's always not fun.
Yeah, no, it's a legit thing. I bring my fan.
I mean, I always tell people, you know, with me, I was a late bloomer. And when I was in grade 9, like I weighed 95 pounds and the gym teacher was like, you weigh over 100 pounds, I'm giving you 100% at the end of and I did it and I got 98%.
Yeah.
And then I retired from gym. But I just remember all the girls. I had lots of girlfriends in grade 4, 5, and 6. But once I got to grade 7, oh my gosh. Well, they had spurted up. They had become women. They were now looking and interested in the grade 9 boys, the grade 10 boys. And there I was. Teacher, please pick me. And I would like also to go to the school dance. But, you know, so, yeah, puberty's one hell of a hormones are one hell of a thing,
it's
people.
not like it's intense. And it's embarrassing. I'll be like in the middle of a meeting and just like start to it's next level. But
You're such a gamer. I know that you need to do it. Here's a weird example, and it's probably nothing like this. But my band hates me sometimes because I get car sick still.
Oh no.
And they'll get mad at me. And I'll legit look at them sometimes and be like, it's not my fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, sometimes stuff happens. It's not in our realm of control, and I do the best I can to be prepared and to deal with it. I'm sorry you don't like the sound. I'm really sorry that we're driving 7 hours. Yeah, we're going 7 hours to London, and that's what they got to listen to for like an hour, you know?
Oh, I know. I'm
Shut
sure,
up, Warren.
honestly, my friends too will be like, bring your fan. It's going to be really hot. I mean, I've been out. This summer's been crazy hot, but one time I brought this out to a birthday party because I didn't want to not show up for my friend, and everybody wanted to borrow my fan because it was so freaking hot. So it has its perks.
So I want to ask you about what the name of your YouTube channel is. I'm going to put links below.
The Janine Charron Show, literally.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll put links to your website below.
JanineCharron.com.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to say, send me all the links, and I'm going to put them all down. And
I will.
And go check
Instagram
it out.
is T.I.G.E.R Method Janine, but yeah.
T.I.G.E.R Method Janine. And the book will come out on shelves, so prepare yourselves for it.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to happen. So take me through, where do we go to finish? I don't know if I want a hockey story. Did you see yourself working in hockey behind the scenes?
I enjoy helping people believe in themselves and see what's possible. That can be, I do believe that's applicable.
That's coaching, right?
That is coaching. And I am a coach to clients. I have athletes, I have business owners, I have, women, younger kids. It just depends. But I do believe we all need that hope and that someone to show us what's possible. And that's what I'm very passionate about. What arena that kind of comes out in, I feel like I'm very easily, I can maneuver, and what's the word I'm looking for? I'm a chameleon. I can kind of insert myself into any situation, but when I get the opportunity to breathe belief into someone, I feel pretty darn good, because then when I believe and you believe, our best ideas come forward, and then the ripple effect affects our community and the world.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's good, because, again, I keep telling bands one thing, which is if you all believe together, 100% together in the song, it will go somewhere. But if one of you dislikes it, it will die, and it will not go where you want. A band, like a team, must be united and rowing at the same time, synchronized diving. It's got to be together. And the second one person turns their head, it all just comes crumbling
But that doesn't mean that your dream doesn't have to live on. You might just need to change your team.
See, there you go. Again, this is good advice.
And sometimes you get stuck on the team and you think that's the only way you're going to achieve your goal. But the world of redirection, I've been redirected many times in my 42 years. And trust me, the redirection has always turned out better.
Yeah, I don't want Ottawa Senators to fail this year, because then that's what Brady Tkachuk's going to start thinking about. Like, maybe I can't do it on this team. And I don't want that. I like my team.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, like, I would love to work if I could have a team that I just got to like work with, but there's different things. I don't know. I'm waiting to see. My life will reveal itself. Right now, I'm just enjoying the journey, and I'm in creation mode with writing and stuff like that.
Have you had to build yourself a team for Janine Charron right now? Do you have a team of supporters or people that help you build things?
No. I mean, I've had, I've got Steelworks Media that helped me with my website, and I've had so many people that have put me in positions to speak or given me stages that I would have never otherwise been on. So I shouldn't say that. I do have a big team of supporters in that sense of, like when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, people came out of the woodwork. And I do believe that was because of what I had poured into my life and my friendships and people in my life over the years. Life came back to me, and it was pretty beautiful in that way. So when you ask me, do I have a team? I mean, like, do I have like a media team or like that's what I was thinking you were asking me.
No, I was asking that as well, but the way you answered it it's true as well, right? And
if you're a participating member of society will take care of you too, right?
You're a one-woman army, and that's kind of what the sense I'm getting at. And the other question I have for you is, have you ever been defeated?
Oh my gosh.
Have you
many
felt
times.
defeat? Yes.
Many times.
Because you are so resilient that
Yeah.
it seems like it bounces
No,
off of you.
No, I've cried many tears and I've angrily, been mad at myself for, sometimes we make the same choice and we're like, this is not good for you. Why do you keep doing this? I'm an emotional eater, or it's like I don't train when I should, or stupid things that whatever affect all of us. I just think it's part of being human, and when you're okay and you acknowledge and you can move on and let go, but it also creates space for other people to show up authentically around you. No one's perfect, right?
Yeah, no.
And your view of me is not any of my opinion. I like me, so that's all that matters.
I like that. Very good.
Yeah.
And what's it like? Is being a mom, is it harder than all the other stuff? Is it more rewarding than all the other stuff you've done? Or is it on par?
I mean, I love being a mom. I wouldn't change it. I think what's tough for me is I'm not your typical mom, and I get flack for not being at home because I'm invested in a lot of community stuff. I do a lot of work, and I am home. But my husband, like when we had our studio, I was missing them waking up, and I was missing them putting them to bed because I was opening the studio and I was closing it. When I do speaking, or when I travel to speak, or when he's holding down the fort. I mean, this was a discussion we had individually as a partnership when we met. I had shared my vision. We actually have written down in a book, like we met. And I said, like when I'm traveling and teaching the T.I.G.E.R method around the world, he's like, I'll drive the tour bus and bring the kids, right? But it can, when you're actually in it, it takes a strong man to be able to allow those roles not necessarily to be.
He enables you.
He's very supportive. I mean, are we a relationship and do we fight about it behind closed doors? Of course, everyone does. Would he like a Susie homemaker? Of course he would.
Not gonna get it though, man.
Exactly.
You're not gonna get it, bro.
Joke. He's like, don't marry a hockey player. And I'm like, hey, no, I can't. So we just communicate about what each other needs, but it's not easy. And I'm finding my groove. And like small business, it costs money. All this stuff costs money. Would I love to hire a team to do all my tech, and can I just show up and do the one thing I love? But it takes growth, and it's part of, I have a day job. I work for Thompson, which I love, and I've got growth ideas with them too, like I'm in a great spot with them. So I think the world, just be open, don't be stuck and pigeonholed, be open to what could come your way and watch how it all unfolds.
Okay. Well, I think, the message of just keep showing up. The world will manifest things for you if you do this.
But it meets you where you're at. If you put in 50, you get 50. If you put in 100, you get 100. So it's cyclical.
Oh, there you go. So it's even more precise. I like that. It's less general that way. And it makes sure it puts the onus back on you.
It's
where it
totally
needs to
your
be.
responsibility to figure out what you're to do and invest and cultivate and nurture that passion, purpose, whatever. It's
not like The Secret.
It's like a teacher. When you go to school, I might be the professor, but it's up to you to learn and study and ask questions if you don't understand. It's not me to make sure that you're an A student. It's up to you to be the A student. I'm here as your coach and your guide.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You're going to get pulled over and you better know the law, people. The cop doesn't care if you don't know it. That's your responsibility.
Exactly what he said.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For coming on All Worn Out today. I hope everyone learned and soaked this all up. It's different than music, but it's not. It's the same because it's like I say at the start, it's all about passion. And it's all about where we put that passion and then what we get out of it and keep feeding it. How long can we feed it? And you've helped me today think of ways to continue this cyclical process. Because it is a big
When you're worried about feeding it, stop and sit with yourself and be quiet. It's less doing, more being. Flow state, my friends.
Go for a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my theater teachers used to say as well. Go for a walk. Just don't
do something different.
Don't put any thought, right? Let it come. Let it just bubble up.
For sure.
All right. Well, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody go right now, subscribe to Janine Charron's channel, watch her podcast, look out for her book, follow her website, all that good stuff. And we will see you all next time on All Worn Out. Bye-bye, everybody.